unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Michael Moore says Deontay Wilder is making excuses, but offers to train him. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, head over to Patreon, sign up there. New tier system, started from scratch. Shout out to the people who have already joined, moving some of the content over there, as well as you could become a YouTube channel member by hitting the join button below. Great way to support the channel. Another way to support the channel so we have continued growth, keep getting gear and doing more and more for you guys, is to order ESPN Plus bundle. That includes ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus, all three apps for one price, $12.99 a month. And it does help the channel when you guys click on the link. The link can be found in the description box of all of my videos. Let's get to it. Former two-division world champion Michael Moore had interesting takes on Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. He says, and the link will be in the description, in an interview, yeah, I see Tyson Fury as the #1 heavyweight in the world. He's smart and he's an awkward fighter. Being that he's an awkward fighter and very young, he confused Deontay Wilder, and that was what he needed to do and what he wanted to do, what Sugar Hill had planned. They wanted to frustrate Wilder, make him miss, and he was going to be off balance. So they fought a smart fight. Listen, take the defeat. Don't make an excuse. In boxing, you're going to have a winner and you're going to have a loser. Someone is going to get hurt and someone is not going to get hurt. That's the real facts of boxing. Once the fight is over and you say, I'm not making excuses, but that's an excuse. You know damn well if you put all that shit on to you for your ring walk, that's dumb. Straight up, that's dumb. Who would wear all that heavy gear for Black History Month? What did it represent? That's just an excuse. I respect Deontay Wilder and I like Deontay Wilder, but the fact of the matter is you spent all that money on the costume and you blame it on your legs. No, my man. You got to learn how to box. You got to learn how to fight. And you got to learn how to keep at a distance. He says, Wilder, you got the reach. You got long arms and you got devastating power. You got to keep people at the end of your punches. Just throw it. If you throw it, it's going to hit. Or you could blind somebody and throw another punch. But not throwing any punches and just depending on one punch, the right hand. You'll never survive in boxing because you're exposed now. He can't take a punch. He'll hit you and break your jaw, but he can't take a punch. Absolutely, I would love to come in and train Wilder. I'm a very technical guy. I guess I became a better boxer after most people do, you know. He's bitter right now because he lost. He lost to a guy in Tyson Fury that knows how to play and press and knows how to play the fans. He has charisma. The guy beat you. It's over and done. There's another chance for you to avenge yourself. That's it. If you're going to talk about it, if you're going to talk good about it and good shit about it, the fact of the matter is it's going to happen again. So why speak about it? Don't waste your time on the past. And then he says that he thinks Fury will win in the rematch. He said, I think so. His confidence is there now. For instance, let's say I trained Deontay Wilder. I would get a hold of him and I would get a hold of him and I would take him to school. I would go where he is or bring him where I am, and it would be secretive. All I want to do is work on your fundamentals, learn how to box. I would keep people at the end of my punches just like this. If anybody gets in, they're going to get beat up before they get in, but I would teach them. I would tell them to go back to the basics, go back to footwork, keep your hands up, and keep people at the end of your punches. Don't let anybody in. You're too big, too strong, and hit too hard to allow people to walk through your punches. End quote. So Michael Moore, he had a lot to say about Wilder and the Fury fight. Listen, he said some things that I agree with. Like from a technical point of view, what he's saying is spot on. He's saying that you're 6'7", athletic, and you have monstrous power. It shouldn't be easy for people to get in. That basic philosophy is true. However, in boxing, there's a lot of variables. Tyson Fury outweighed Wilder by 50, 60 pounds. He came in 273, I think it was, the night before. So it's not about, in that instance, it's not necessarily about not fighting tall. It's not like Alexander Povetkin or a short guy got in on the inside. You have a guy who's physically bigger and physically taller than you with the longer reach, and he's like aggressive and walking you down. So it's a little bit different situation. I can understand more so if Wilder let Amir Mansour, Povetkin, Andy Ruiz, one of the smaller, shorter heavyweights, not necessarily small in weight, but just small in stature, I guess you could say. That would make more sense. But the fact that Fury was all around bigger, longer reach, taller height, and more weight and more mass, I think that didn't play in Wilder's hands. Another issue is, this is just my personal take and opinion. Wilder, I think he gained weight thinking like, oh, Fury's gaining weight. It's just like boxing is about milliseconds and inches, basically, just like football. One little miscalculation could cost you. And Fury was bulking up, and I think they were betting on Fury being more lethargic with the added weight, and they didn't want to get moved around or pushed around. So a big mistake that no one's really talking about, that I've talked about, and it's easy to talk about these things in hindsight, so I'm not attempting to act like I knew this going in. But looking back, I see one of the mistakes that I believe Team Wilder made was they came in at a weight that Wilder hadn't naturally achieved any of his victories at. If I'm not mistaken, Wilder's weight, he looked in great shape, but he was at his career highest weight. So you got to understand and you could say, oh, I'm making excuses because I understand Michael Moore said making excuses. Listen, I'm never going to be fearful to talk boxing on my channel. You see what I'm saying? You guys can say whatever you want in the comment section. I don't really give a rat's ass. I'm telling you what I feel. It's not about making excuses or you can't accept defeat. This is my personal opinion. So if you don't like it, scram. Now that we got that out the way, I do think there's a couple miscalculations that Team Wilder made. Again, the Radical Man fans are going to say, oh, you're making excuses for your boy Wilder. Whatever. Don't care. Don't watch my channel. So one miscalculation was and it's weird that nobody else is really talking about this but me. Wilder came in heavy and he looked good at the weight. And if you guys go back and listen to my videos, I did say that Wilder should come in heavier. I really think that Wilder should come in heavier, but I didn't anticipate him coming in quite as heavy as he did. He came in at 230 something, low 230s or something, 230 to 235. I don't remember the exact number. And that was more than I expected. I didn't want to see, what I said in my videos is I didn't want to see Deontay Wilder come in so low, like 212, 213, 214 or 15. That was too low. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because you're really teetering on cruiserweight. Cruiserweights in their off season for show weigh about that much. You know what I'm saying? So that you're really light. For your stature and stuff, you're really light. You're not playing basketball. And I think Tyson Fury already, no matter what, Tyson Fury is going to have a weight and mass advantage over Deontay Wilder. It's just the way they're built. You know what I mean? And I thought that wasn't a good look for Wilder to necessarily come in. He did look like he was in crazy shape, but again, these little miscalculations. Wilder was 231. Yeah, that was a bit high. The highest I remember him was at his fight with Eric Molina, and I think in that fight he was like 227 and a half, something like that. My memory is pretty good. he weighed 229 in the Eric Molina fight. But if you notice in that fight, he got rocked by Eric Molina as well. So maybe there's some type of correlation when Wilder is at the high twos, like 229, 231s. Maybe that's a little bit too much, because if you look at the destructive Wilder when he's at his best, for Bermane Stiverne 1, he weighed 219. For his fight, well, I guess you could say his fight with Spilka, who was higher twos, 228. But after that point, he kind of regressed and started coming down in his weight. And that was Chris Arreola, 226. Gerald Washington, 222. Stiverne rematch, 220 and a quarter. Luis Ortiz, 214 and 3/4. And then when he fought Fury, where he actually knocked Fury out unconscious, he was 212. Dominic Brazil, crazy knockout, 223. So I think his sweet spot is actually 218 to about 225, if he could be in there. And I know it's a science. You got to get your, to land on the exact number, but it's a science. These other fighters weigh a lot in their off season, and then they cut down to welterweight or whatever, or cut down to lightweight. So it's the same thing. He could get his body there. And I think that's keeps him agile. It keeps him athletic and those types of things. So that's one thing that no one's really talking about that I wanted to note. So it's not about excuses for me. I do get what he's saying, what Michael Moore is saying. He's saying, like, people will say, oh, not to make excuses, but in a perfect world, that sounds great. It doesn't really work like that in an interview setting. If Yahoo Sports is asking you what went wrong, what are you supposed to say? Nothing went wrong. I just lost to the better man. The end. That's too robotic, and I don't think it's really. I don't think that's likely from people. If you ask someone a direct question and they've had time to ponder it, because if you notice, Wilder, I think he said something the day of the fight, like right after post-fight, he said, "Oh, it wasn't my night. Better man won." So he didn't get up there and start making, I beat that boy. He didn't do the Adrian Broner or do anything crazy. He gave Fury his props, but you can't ask someone a week or two later, after they had time to process it, go back and watch the fight, see how they felt, and then ask them a direct question and then expect them to not have any type of reply, because I'm a perfectionist myself. And one thing that I can do very well is self-reflection. So if you ask me, like, let's say I covered the fight and things went wrong and it was a disastrous trip and I lost money, and you ask me 2 weeks later what went wrong about the trip, trust me, I'm gonna have a list. So that doesn't always equate to somebody making excuses. That doesn't equate to, sometimes that's you processing the loss and seeing where you went wrong and things you can change and things you can do different. So depending, it's a case by case basis. Like, for example, and a lot of people try to catch me up in whatever, in contradictions, but you're never going to do that because I'm very consistent. But I look at it like this. Some fighters will start saying excuses and they're actually coming up with different things that probably didn't play into why they lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you lost to Mayweather, it's probably because he's just better than you. That's just the type of skill set he has. But Deontay Wilder looked worse than he has in his whole career in this Fury fight. And this was even before the bell rang. So I think he does have a valid point about certain things weren't adding up. Whether he had a migraine or the 45-pound suit or his legs felt weak or he was living in his head, something was up, because you've seen it before before Tyson Fury laid a glove on him. You see what I'm saying? So, people are going to say whatever. Michael Moore, that's his opinion. I doubt Wilder will take his advice in terms of allowing him to train, because he was also saying some things that were a bit snarky. It's weird. Wilder has like the weirdest aura in boxing. I feel like people are super down and hard on Wilder, more so than other boxers. And it is so weird. It is so weird. I think people are, this is my honest opinion, I think people resent Wilder because he's like at his peak. He's entertaining fans and knocking people out, and he's not doing it your way. You know, people like normal fighters have to stay in the gym year round and, you know, stay in shape and practice all these drills to box and be good. And some of them have power too. But Wilder, he's doing things his own style, his own way, outspoken, does what he wants, making good paychecks. Fans are messing with him. You know, he's a part of the culture, and people are, you know, just tapped in and tuned into what he's doing. And he did it all his way. Like, he didn't come in with a textbook jab in every fight and, you know, this crazy footwork that we have never seen, or Pernell Whitaker-esque. He just did things all his way. And it looks like a lot of people are envious of that, because you just think about it. Let's say I learned a computer, like I do video editing. So let's say I learned a computer software and it took me a year to learn that software. And then some brainiac kid comes in and never used the software, and he can learn it in 3 days. And I'm like, damn, it took me a whole year to learn how to use this software and to remember everything. And I had to have cram sessions. I had to have sticky notes and all these things to get me by. And then this person with this crazy memory or this affinity for video editing just comes in and blows my learning curve out the water. I think that's what it is. I really do. I think that's what it is when it comes to Deontay Wilder. Everyone else has to do things their way, or, you know, traditional boxing. Wilder is not a traditionalist. He does what he wants, and he has his own style. Like, people, oh, the windmill, wow. So people are super critical of him. And I noticed this, you notice is interviews like this a lot of times are with UK media and different things like that, rather than new media, you know, where all these quotes and stuff come out. I just want you guys to peep the setup. But that's my thoughts. Michael Moore, he said Wilder's making excuses. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I think a lot of people are writing Wilder off. It's still a good fight for the trilogy. He can't go in like he did last time. He has to process and learn from this. But I definitely give him a shot versus Fury, a great shot to beat Fury in the trilogy, despite what went. You know, at the heart of it all, some people just have off nights, and it looked like an extreme off night for Deontay Wilder. I mean, he wasn't responding well to the shots. I mean, Michael Moore is saying stuff like Wilder ain't got no chin. I mean, I can't even agree with no stuff like that, because I don't think it was a matter. The guy outweighed you by 50, 60 pounds, which is fair. You know, it's a heavyweight division. So I'm not making an excuse or complaint. I'm just letting you know the realities of it. I wouldn't say Tyson Fury actually has a pretty decent knockout percentage per capita, you know what I mean, based on how many people he fought. Tyson Fury has 31 bouts, and he has almost a 70% knockout ratio. He has a 67% knockout ratio. So in 31 fights, he has 21 KOs. That's not really that bad. Plus, you factor Wilder had an off night. Things weren't clicking. He was living his head. Whatever was wrong with him, the suit, whatever you want to say. Plus, Fury had a great game plan. You know, it's just, it was the recipe for disaster for Deontay Wilder. I think his team did a couple things that they could have tweaked, right? Like not coming in quite so heavy, but coming in heavier than you did in the first fight, right? That's a major one. Game plan wise, strategy wise, there's things that Wilder should have done. Like Michael Moore is absolutely right when he says Wilder got to throw punches. Wilder is kind of a slow starter, and Tyson Fury got off first and got the drop on him. End of story. Man, I could break this fight down forever. There's so many points that I want to make, but I'm gonna keep this to what I've already recorded right now. We Unpack coming to you live. If you love what I am doing for boxing, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. We Unpack. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.